welcome in. Today you're going to learn how to use informational interviews to get a job, and it's going to be fun. I love talking about network and making interviewing fun, or making informational interviews fun, because I have been obsessed with them since 2012. And they don't feel gross if you're doing them right. And I've used them and taught them to all my clients, to my husband, in fact, who is an engineer and now even teaches them when he has a new intern or someone is leaving the company one of the interns is leaving to find another job. He will teach them how to use this framework that I teach for informational interviews that don't ever feel gross. And I want to tell you why, because I also have been interviewing over 3,000 candidates and seen the side of a client of mine was able to get an informational interview with a very well-known company and a person in leadership. She was going back and forth about how to prepare, what she should say in her elevator pitch, because she wasn't very clear on what she wanted to do next. But I encouraged her to go anyway, because it was the exact industry that she wanted to break into, and being able to talk to someone at the company and at the level that would eventually be her manager, she wanted to get some information. And that is what informational interviews are. And after we checked in, after she had the call with this person, with this leader, she felt bummed. She felt so terrible because she was rambling. She didn't have a clear elevator pitch prepared. She also hadn't gotten set on the intention of what she wanted to get from the call. And so when the person on the informational interview coffee chat asked her a very obvious question, which is like, both the two obvious questions are like, why would you want to work here, and tell me about yourself. So two questions you always want to have prepared. By side note is, why do you want to work here specifically, and tell me about yourself, are two conversations or two replies that you should have just like in your back pocket. And so what she realized is she didn't have those because at the time she didn't know what she wanted. And the reason we were using the informational interview in this way is because she wanted to find out. So I actually helped her see that it was not that she did it wrong. It was that she got exactly what she needed, which is that she wasn't prepared, because it was in a conversation that wasn't high stakes. It was just a chat. It was just information. And so she was able to reconnect to her purpose of the informational interviews, which is to gather information, to gather intel. So as a result, this unprepared chat gave her the exact information she needed to clarify her elevator pitch and practice these for her next actual interview, because this wasn't an interview, it was just a chat. So today, what I want to teach you and what we're covering is why having a clunky, unprepared elevator pitch, tell me about yourself, why do you want to work here, is okay. I'm also going to tell you what not to do in an informational interview and what to do instead, and how to never run out of people to talk to. And inside of that, I'm going to teach you a magic question that will make sure that you always have another person to talk to, even if your network is small or even if you feel gross. I'm going to teach you that magic question later. So let me tell you why clunky is okay. Practicing your pitch is like your elevator pitch is just like as a toddler when you first start walking. You're not like, let me practice walking so that I know how to walk. You're like, why am I not walking? Why was my walking not perfect? No, a toddler falls and falls and falls, and then one day takes a step and then falls and falls and falls and then crawls, because crawling's faster, but they eventually learn to walk. Similarly, in any sport that you start or playing an instrument, you don't just become good at it because you want to. You become good at it because you're devoted to it. You're practicing it. You're saying it out loud. You're doing the thing. You never do it right the first time. And that's similar to practicing our elevator pitches or talking clearly about what we want. Your elevator pitch will be clunky at first. I promise. Every single person who comes from the Career Club, who comes through my private coaching, any person I've ever had an informational interview, that I actually recently had one, when I asked her what her elevator pitch was, she went off on a very long journey that was unnecessary. And I gave her that feedback after, because what I want her to know is that waiting for it to be perfect is not the way to get something out into the world. We have to test drive it in a space that has lower stakes, like an informational interview. And if you do the informational interview the way that I teach you, it's never going to feel gross. It's never going to feel like a tit for tat or a transaction. It's going to be very connecting. So what I love about coffee chats and informational interviews is that it lets you test drive, just like a toddler testing out walking, who's eventually like, fuck, like crawling's way easier and faster. I'm just going to try that for a little bit. And then they start gaining more confidence because they practice and see that other people are walking. Oh, I can do this. Other people do it. And so just giving yourself the compassion and the knowing that the first time it comes out of your mouth or the first time you write it down, it's going to be clunky. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to be clear. And that is the whole point. The whole point is for you to practice the clunky so that when you're in the actual interview where the stakes are higher, you'll be able to do it more smoothly and with more confidence. The next thing we're moving to is what to do and what not to do in informational interviews. And I want you to think of an informational interview in a totally different way than you've probably been taught before. So if you imagine yourself on the street, walking up to a person or having a conversation with a person, it is very easy and lazy to talk about a complaint, to complain about the weather, to say something bad that has happened. And so what I want you to do inside of informational interviews is different. It's a pivot from the easy way of complaining, like, what do you hate about your job? What's going bad? Instead, I want you to ask them what they love about their jobs. What is good about their culture? What is good about the work that they're doing? Why they designed their job this way, or like didn't design it some way, or what they wish they had asked for, or what the pivot that you want looks like. And then what I want you to do is use these answers to build your own ideal job description. So that could include collaborative coworkers, flexibility, time off with your family without guilt. Those kind of things is how we design your job via the things that they love about theirs. And so you're literally getting intel and information from this person to help to create your elevator pitch, your why do you want to work here, okay? And that is just a way of looking at it that feels more collaborative. It feels like a real connection. I want you to bring in more feminine conversation, community, help, rather than a more masculine of transactional. Like it's the way that we're moving in the world is that raise your hand. I can't see you, but I can see you. Raise your hand if you love helping people. Yeah, most of us are like, yeah, if someone asks me for help, like I'll help them. Raise your hand if you like asking help from people. That's harder to do, right? We haven't been practicing that. We haven't gotten that muscle built. And so it's easier for us to think that people are going to feel like a pull and gross and it's transactional. But what's actually helping is when you are not asking someone for their information, for their companionship, for their community creation, you are not letting them help you, which is an innate feeling that humans want to have. We want to have connection. Like, that is what the pandemic taught us, is that we thrive in community. We thrive with people around us. And something I also want to tell you is that here's the secret. When you start asking people what they actually love about their jobs, whether it's a 4-day work week or the fact that their boss does not blink an eye when they leave for a school play or a doctor's appointment, you're going to start seeing a pattern of what you want in your role. And once you have that clarity, you're going to need a plan to execute on it. You can't just hope a job is going to fall in your lap. And that is exactly why I created the best job method roadmap. It's the full step-by-step framework I use with my private coaching clients to help them move from I just need a job to I'm designing a career that actually fits my actual life and capacity and my family and my friendships and my marriage and my partnerships and all these things. It actually fits in what you want to be living, and it takes that intel that you're gathering from these chats and shows you exactly how to plug it into your job search strategy so that you can land a role that honors your family, your boundaries, your personal life, and that you can grab that full roadmap for free at the link in my description. It's the how-to guide for everything we're talking about today. Okay, now that you've got the roadmap, let's get to the magic question that keeps your momentum going. Now we're going to talk about how to never run out of people to talk to. I mean, dude bros at golf have been doing this networking thing since the beginning of time, but this isn't that, okay? The magic question I want you to use turns one contact into a web of warm leads and an ever-expanding network. Imagine the first person you talk to is the person that you are easiest to reach out to. You can text them, you can email them. You actually saw them at the coffee shop earlier this week, or they were a colleague from where you got laid off from. Reach out to them in a text. Hey dude, hey dudette, hey person, hey darling, I I wanted to talk to you because I noticed that you had this experience or you made this pivot that I'm interested in doing, and I'm interested in how you thought about it. And then this will turn that one contact into a web of warm leads and a warm people that you can reach out to, and it really reduces the isolation of your job search. And that question is, when you finish, because they've already had experience with you, they already know what you're looking for, they've already been with you at whatever stage of the elevator pitch you are at, is the question, who else should I talk to about this? Write this down. Who else should I talk to about this? Never leave the next coffee chat or informational interview without asking this, because it is the magic, it is the feminine, it is the connection, it's the community, it's while AI is pulling us towards doing things on here, it's what's pulling us back to connect, to create community, to who else do you know that would be able to help me, or to be able to see me, or to be able to work with me and help me pivot, or like make a better story, right? You're going to think about this and wish that you had said this if you already have a job. Like, who else should you talk to? And when that person is asked that question, it takes it very specifically to give me a name of a person, or connect me through a warm lead, or connect me through a warm connection, like reach out to someone and connect us so that I can take advantage of that. So what I want you to remember is that you get to network in a new way. You get to practice your elevator pitches with this new way that I taught you today. You get to practice elevator pitches. You get to practice interview questions in a not as hard or like low, it's in a more low stakes, like sandbox that you get to play in, okay? Then you also get to reach out to people and ask them what they actually love about their jobs, rather than the nitty gritty of like what they don't like. There's so many places you can find what people hate about their jobs. LinkedIn, Reddit, the coffee shop. People are always complaining. But what I want you to do is the more advanced way of finding out what people actually enjoy. Okay? And that's going to shift how your conversations are. That's going to shift how people think about you when they're thinking about you. And then remembering the magic question. Who else do you know that I should talk to? Who else should I talk to that you know? So remember, the job search, life, the informational interviews, it's a game, okay? And you get to play in a way that fits your life and feels good. So what the fuck do you actually want? Maybe you don't know yet. And this is a great way to figure it out. Let's find out through informational interviews. And then you can pinpoint these growth opportunities before you have the hiring manager interview. So when you're talking in the sandbox of the informational interview, you get to take that and then redevelop it while you use my care method to interview and practice your interviewing and pull out your stories before you actually have the hiring manager interview. Answering these questions also will build your confidence during that. So it's like more inner confidence that you're building because you've been talking to people already. And for every conversation, I want you to set a specific intention for that chat, and know that because you're speaking with people and reaching out and some of them are not going to respond right away, it's okay to follow up, and know that some chats will just feel more fruitful than others, and that's totally fine. It's going to be an energy exchange, not a tactic exchange, or like it's not a transaction. It's just like you showing up as a human and them showing up as a human and figuring out where down the line, maybe if you're doing informational interviews right now, that means likely that you're going to need some later, and you're building your network now so that in the future you have more people to reach out to and ask that question, who else should I reach out to? Because the way that the job search is moving, it's less about what the resume looks like in the ATS. It's even more about, before it was like who you know, but now it's like really who you know but feel connected to and are willing to like put in a referral for you, or like think about you when you're in a job search. Who's going to think about you, right? So now that you know how to do informational interviews from today's, you probably need to know what to actually say to reach out. So go to the next video and get my exact reach out templates and strategy. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.